What's going on, everybody? It's PapaStones coming back with another video. So today we're going over all the green cards from next set, ranking them 1 through 10. We're just going to jump right into it because these generally take a little while. So we got Salacious Crumb. It's a 1-cost 1/3. When played, heal 1 damage from your base. Action, tap it to return it to your hand and deal 1 damage to a ground unit. I don't hate this card. I also don't love it. I feel like it's kind of funny. It might be like it's called Obnoxious Pet Subtext. It's realistically what I think it'll be. You'll be able to just chip away at things or heal yourself if you need slow healing, but you lose board presence. So it's not like the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely not the best. Granted, it is a 1-drop, but I definitely think it's a playable card. I would say it's a 6. I'm not sure. I'm kind of ranking these off of my brain and reading them, so we're gonna keep cranking. We got a bunch of reprints. Outland Tie Vanguard. When played, you may give an experience token to another unit that costs 3 or less. 2 cost 2/1. I mean, stats kind of suck, but it's not great. I don't know. 3 or less, we'll give it a 3. We'll give her a 3. Short Trooper. Phase 3 Dark Trooper. 3 cost Sentinel. 3/3. When combat damage is dealt to this unit, give an experience to it if it survives. It's not bad. It's like strictly an upgrade from Cell Block Guard. Yeah, I mean, Cell Block Guard was playable in most decks that were running Cell Block. Well, not most, but a lot of decks that were running Cell Block pretty actively were running green, so it's like a pure upgrade to Cell Block. But is it going to survive the 3 damage is the question. I mean, you can walk it into something else and then it'll be a 4 whatever, so that's not bad. But it, like I said, it's good, but it's not anything to write home about. We're going to give it a 6 as well. Another reprint. Warbird Stowaway. While you have initiative, this gains +2/+0. You can smuggle it for 4. It's a 3 cost 2/3. I don't like cards that like force you to be playing on the initiative. Personally, like, sure, Star Viper was played, but that's because it gives you restore, and it was just a green. This is basically either a 2/3 or a 4/3, and why not just play a Swoop Racer? You know what I mean? Like, it's different color, obviously, but a Swoop Racer is a 3 cost 4/3. This is the same thing, but only while you have initiative. So that gets a crisp. I don't want to say 1, but we'll give it a 2. It's just a vanilla, but you have to have initiative. Crosshair. 4 cost 2/6. Action, you can pay 2 to give it +1/+0 for this phase. You can do that endlessly. You can also action tap it sideways. This unit deals damage equal to his power to an enemy ground unit. So it's basically like a Han Solo in a sense, that it like, or shoot first. I mean, granted, you're not going to take any damage. You're just dealing your damage, which is kind of cool. But I think if this thing gets buffs, it gets real terrifying. Like, I would definitely throw this into like a Grand Moff Tarkin and just keep giving him XP and then tapping him sideways to ping units for free. So that's kind of funny. Yeah, I don't hate it, but it's also kind of slow. We're kind of in like mid-rangey stuff. Like, I don't hate a lot of these cards. Not a lot of them have been terrible, but not a lot of them as standouts. I say this is a 5 though, just because it's a 4 cost 2/6 that technically does nothing. So yeah, we're gonna move on. We got Effamon. It's a 5 cost 4/6 Underworld. On attack, choose an enemy non-leader unit that attacked your base this phase. A friendly unit in the same arena captures it. I think this is really good in the green-black control deck specifically, because like a lot of the times you're not. I don't know. It's kind of a. I feel like it puts. I feel like you won't get the effect as often as you'd like. Like people see this and they'll, unless they think they're gonna kill you really soon, they're gonna kill it, right? But if like they're playing another mid-range deck or a control deck, they'll probably try and clear it and or not attack your base. Because if they don't attack your base at all, then it's just a 4/6, right? For 5, which isn't great. But I feel like this card almost forces your opponent to attack it. It's like it's pseudo sentinel in a sense, you know. Like sure, I mean I guess they could attack other units because it has to be a friendly unit or yeah, a friendly unit in the same arena. So yeah, I mean it's got pseudo sentinel in a sense. So uh, we're gonna go 7 just because it breaks the game in a sense, but it might not see play just because it might be a 4/6 do nothing. We got Pirate Battle Tank, Sentinel 6 cost, 4/6, smuggles for 7. Not bad. It's a ground ship, which is weird. I don't know why I hate ground vehicles. Like I've played some, you know, I get it like thematically, but it just anytime I see anything that looks like a ship, I want to put it on the space side, and I don't read that it's a ground unit. Like the first like couple hours I was testing my Krennic deck, I'm playing Cargo Jug, and every time I'd slam it on the space side, and I'm like, wait, this isn't a spaceship. So that kind of happens, but yeah, well, you know, got a little off topic there, but it's not bad if you're desperate for Sentinel, sure, but it's a 6 cost 4/6, so 4. Moving on, we got the boy, we got Maul. Not even Darth Maul, it's just Maul. 7 cost, ambush, overwhelm, 7/6. On attack, you may choose another friendly underworld unit. If you do all combat damage that would be dealt to this unit during this attack, it's dealt to the chosen unit instead. So this thing basically it's a rare, so it's a budget Vader option, but at the same time it also could be a secondary Vader option. Like for the ramp green decks, you could play 3 Vader, 3 Maul, you know, like this card's insane. It's a 7 cost with ambush, right? And it's got 7 damage, so it's clearing pretty much anything except for, I don't know, like something they played on, you know, 9 plus resources, maybe 8, I guess. There's some big 8s, but it'll clear most things at the same cost of 7. And the fact that if you have other underworld cards, you can pass off the damage. So like if they played a Maul, cleared something, right? Like they had the initiative, they play Maul, they clear something, you have another underworld unit, you play your Maul, you run it into their Maul, you pass the damage off to your guy, your Maul lives, you have a 7/6, they got nothing. I feel like this card's insane. I'm not looking forward to seeing it everywhere just because of also the character itself. I feel like it'll be very sought after. I feel like this card is up there in the 10 category, either high 9 or 10, but this card's so good. Moving on, got Jabba's Rancor. If you control Jabba, this unit costs 1 less, so it becomes a 7 cost. But it's 8 normally, and when played on attack, deal 3 damage to another friendly ground unit and 3 damage to an enemy ground unit. The damage is kind of negligible, I think. Dealing 3 to 3, like unless you're playing that with grid, it doesn't feel great. You're basically just dealing 3 damage to a unit and then dealing 3 to theirs. Like sure, if you need to clear something, but you could also technically, excuse me, you could be damaging, like it's definitely it's for Jabba, right? Like if you're playing Jabba, you can play Jabba on 7. You can play this. You can deal damage to the Jabba because it's a 2/12, so you can just make it like a 2/9 and start pinging stuff. Like I like the card stat wise, but like the when played on attack feels kind of average, I think. So We're gonna give this. We're gonna give it. We're gonna give it an 8 just because it has enough aspects to be playable. I think in Java specifically. But maybe 7. I don't know because I feel like Java will just play Vaders and malls and stuff like that. You know, who knows? Maybe I'm tripping. But moving on though, we got Finalizer, an 11 cost 11/11. With Overwhelm, when played, choose any number of friendly units. Each of those units captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. I didn't love this card when I first saw it because I feel like if you're at 11 resources and you're playing this, I feel like you're either like, if you're capturing a lot of stuff, you're already so far ahead that it doesn't matter, or you're so far behind that you're playing it and you're capturing like one unit, which doesn't feel great. So I don't know. I've seen a lot of ramp pop up though for green specifically, so it could be good, but part of me feels like this doesn't like slot out Devastator in green ramp decks. Maybe you play one and like a couple Devastators and stuff, but when you're at that point in the game, like unless you're getting super laser blasted, which would be a controlled deck so they don't have a lot of units anyways, then once you get to that point in the game, it's probably already over, so this card doesn't really do anything for you. However, the effect's really cool. I feel like the hyperspace of this is going to look super sick, but that's all besides the point. We're going to give it a 5, just because I think Devastator's just a better card. Moving on though, got Remnant reserved for 4. Search the top 5 cards of your deck for up to 3 units, reveal them, and draw them. That seems horrible. Why would you pay 4 to draw? Like, I mean, sure, you're paying 4 and drawing 3, right? But that doesn't get you anywhere. Like, I don't think this sees any play. Unless it's... no, not even like hard control. You wouldn't even want to do this, I don't think. I feel like this is just a 2 for me. I don't see the point. Last black card here is Palpatine's Return. It's play a unit from your discard pile. It costs 6 also, by the way. Play a unit from your discard pile. It costs 6 less. If it's a force unit, it costs 8 less. I feel like this card's nutty. It's just for the Yu-Gi-Oh players out there, or former. That's me, former. It's just Monster Reborn, right? Like, so you can play a 6 cost for 6, basically, which is fine if your 6 cost died, or you can grab a force unit like a Palpatine, as the name states, and play the Palpatine for 6, or you could grab a Vader or things like that and play it for 6 instead of 7 if they've already died. There's just tons of options with this. I feel like this card will definitely see play. I feel like it's going to be kind of a mainstay just because of how powerful it is to, like, if your units do eventually die, like, you can get them back, you know, like, that's kind of always been problems. Like, you only have 3 copies of said card, and once they're gone, you know, so why not have a 6th copy of all these cards? So that makes it more plausible, but I'd give this a 9. I don't think it's as broken as Maul, but I feel like the card's really solid in green ramp style decks. Moving on though, we got some heroism stuff. We got Clone Deserter, 2/3 with Restore 1, bounty draw a card. Meh. The Restore 1's nice, but 2/3 is such a bad stat line. I feel like that's probably why it has the Restore, because they know that 2/3 is a bad stat line now. But I don't know. We're gonna give it a 4. I'm feeling generous here, just because it has Restore. If it didn't have Restore, if it had like something, literally anything else, I guess if it had like Raid or something like that, I would say. If this had Grit, it'd be a 2, you know what I mean? Like, the Restore kind of gives it a couple extra points because Restore is really strong against aggro decks, and it's so low to the ground that you're willing to drop. You got Maz Kanata. When you play another unit, give an experience token to this unit. I think this card's going to be very gimmicky, but I think it's got potential. Because, like, the only real way I'm seeing it right now is there's two options. You could play it in like a very low to the ground, like 1-2 cost deck, and just play it early enough to where they won't deal with it, or like they can't, I guess, like you're, I don't know, like it's hard to imagine like where you're, because I feel like if this gets played out, your opponent's probably going to clear it unless they're just negligent, I guess, because it's like the most you could do on turn one, right, would be make it a 2/2 if you had 2/1 drops, and then if they just kill it, right, then it's done. But I don't know. If there's a possibility where you can just slam a bunch of units on the board, then sure, it's terrifying, right? And the other option is U-Wing reinforcement. If you played this in 2-3 costs, and like you sequence it that this comes out first, right? You get the, what is that, a 3/3 then? Yeah, it'd be a 3/3. And you have, 2 other units, and if you had other options, but normally U-Wing comes out on 7. So realistically, I don't think this card's that good, but it's got some terrifying potentials if more swarm type decks become available, or like options for like token generation, if those count as, units or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna give this a 3. I don't have high hopes for it, but maybe it makes it in Han Green off of like U-Wing, because it's like a different style of Vanguard ace, So yeah, but other than that, it's not good. We got Freetown backup. 2 cost 1/4 on attack. Give another friendly unit +2/+2 for this phase. Smuggles for 4. I don't know what to think about this one. I don't know if this is the first time I've actually seen this one, because I've seen a lot of these cards. I just don't remember how I initially saw them or whatever. But like, giving something +2/+2 is solid, right? But it's just it has to be another friendly, which I mean is for obvious reasons, right? But I just don't. I think it's too slow. It's kind of like Maw or Infant Maw kind of thing. Like, it's almost got pseudo Sentinel in a sense, right? Like, you pretty much have to clear it because you don't want them just to keep pumping their dudes, right? But maybe in something like Ray, you could give this a couple XP and they would stick around. I don't know. I like the effect, but at the same time, I don't like it because you have to be sticking to the board. So we're going to go with a 4 here. I'm just a hater, I think. We got Sundari Peacekeeper. 3 cost, 1/5 with Raid 2 and Restore 2. I feel like this card's nutty just because of the keywords alone. The 1/5 for defending sucks, right? But the fact that it's basically a 3/5 when you're attacking, which is a pretty good stat line for a 3 cost, and it has a Restore on it, makes this like super good into like the aggressive style matchups that just want to punch you in the face, because they'll either have to start trading into it, and normally they won't kill it with one swing, so you could hit back and then Restore 2. Like, this card probably, and it's technically Mandalorian if you're into that too. I feel like this card's cool. It'll definitely be relevant as long as aggro's relevant. So I'm gonna give this one, I'm gonna give it an 8, just because I think the keywords carry this card. However, I could be totally tripping. It could be like a 7 or so, but I feel like it's too good. We're really high on Restore also, I think, just because I think we all found out from set 1 that Restore is insane. Like, the fact that, Inferno 4 Devotion is like a game changer for a control deck. You know what I mean? Like, that's bizarre. But moving on. We got Echo. It's a 4 cost 4/4 with Restore 2. When played, you may discard a card from your hand, give 2 experience token to a unit with the same name as the discarded card. So I feel like that part will probably only happen if you have 2 echoes in hand. Because 95% of the time, like, you won't line up, I guess, the right way. You won't be like, maybe work. Like, I feel like you have to play around this, I guess. I should rephrase. Like, say you play a Grogu, right? Sure, that's not a good option, but you play a Grogu on turn 1, and then, like, your next turn you draw an Echo and a Grogu. You could technically, hold them both, and then next turn play it, and then give the Grogu 2 XP if it's still around, kind of thing. I don't know. I feel like it's a little too niche. It's not always good, right? And it's just a 4/4, which, I mean, sure, it's got Restore 2, which isn't, like I said, Restore is super good, but it's a 4/4, so it gets cleared out by most 4-drops in the game right now. And I am assuming better 4-drops come out, faster 4-drops have been coming out, so I don't think it's as prevalent. But if you can play it on 4 for as a 6/6, if you have 2 of them in hand, then that's pretty solid, But I think I'm going to give this one I'm going to give it a 5. I don't think it's going to see too much play. However, I could be wrong, because it does have Restore, and it can technically be a 6/6 or bump your other units. But maybe 6. We're going to go 6. I'm feeling it. I think that gets better with time. But right now it's kind of meh. Okay. Modded cohort in Ambush Raid 2 2/4. So it's a 4/4 with Ambush. Why wouldn't you just play like any other 4/4 Ambush? This card's horrible. 2. Moving on. A Delphi Patrol Wing, 5-cost 4/6 spaceship. When played, you may attack with the unit. If you have the initiative, it gains +2/+0 over this phase. So it's basically like a Fleet Lieutenant on crack if you have the initiative. And it's a 4/6 spaceship, right? I feel like this is solid. I mean, you might not see it in many aggro decks because they're playing so low to the ground that they can, that's why they play the Fleet Lieutenants and stuff. But in like a mid-range style deck, I feel like this is nice, like in, I'd say Green Boba, but that's that. Maybe in like Han, maybe not. I don't know. I feel like it's got a home. A 4/6 spaceship for 5 costs is pretty solid in general. And then the fact that it can make something get +2/+0 to either clear units or hit base, I feel like this is pretty good. I'm gonna say 7. I like it. Moving on, Marauder. It's 4/5 Ambush, 5-cost ship. When played, choose a card in your discard pile, put it into play as a resource if it shares a name with a unit you control. It's very specific. I feel like that's the same problem as Echo. Like, you have to have a card on the field and then have one that you've already gotten in your discard pile. I don't know. I don't like that concept. I feel like it's like worse gambling in a sense. Like, you're hoping that your Battlefield Marine died on turn 1, and then at 4 resources you played another Battlefield Marine because you didn't have a good 4-drop or something, and then turn 5 you Marauder and get a ramp off of a battle. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's got niche possibilities. I think maybe it sees some play in Han Solo, just for the fact that you can, kill your own resources. But other than that, I don't know if this has a home. So I'm going to give it a 5, but I think playable in Han Solo. Old Han Solo, by the way. Maybe new one, I don't know. Moving on, though. We got General Rykon, or Rykan. When played on attack, choose a friendly unit. If it has Sentinel, give it an experience. Otherwise, it gains Sentinel for this phase. It's 6 cost 5/7. I don't like this. I feel like I mean, sure, it's technically a different aspect, but like the Gladiator Star Destroyer is just this, but better in a sense because it's a spaceship. This being a ground unit makes it a little less better, less good. I don't know what the proper words I'm looking for here is. But the fact that you can pump your Sentinels is kind of nice. Uh, don't love it because it's kind of like 6 costs do nothing technically, so we're gonna go with we're gonna give it like a 5 just because I think it's side deckable. I guess if you really need, no, I don't say 4, so I feel like you wouldn't side deck something where you need Sentinel at 6 resources. So don't love it. We're just gonna leave it at that. Don't love it. We got Inspiring Mentor. Attached to a non-vehicle unit. Attached unit gains on attack when defeated, given experience to another friendly unit. Sure. I don't know. If someone plays this on a guy, you just kill it. Then I guess, no, because it's kind of puts you in a weird spot, I guess. They get to give out 1 XP for 2. Yeah, that's not good. When you say it like that, it sounds horrible. They use their action to attach this, and you run over their unit, and they give out 1 XP, so they basically paid 2 for 1 experience. Not good. 3. Moving on, Spark of Hope. Choose a unit in your discard pile. If it was defeated this phase, put it into play as a resource. Now, I like this, right? Because sometimes it's gonna suck, right? Like, it won't be as good as a resupply, because it's... resupply is just play it, right? This, your unit has to die. So, like, against aggro, this card will probably never even touch the board, right? Like, you imagine they won't kill your units unless they're ECLing out to kill something, right? But at that point, you're probably not looking for a Spark of Hope. But in mid-rangey style and control style matchups, this card's insane. 2 out of 3 of the main style decks is going to be really good against. And you can play this as, copies 7, 8, 9 of ramp, or 7, 8, or cut 1 of each, or what? No, wait, I lied, because Super Laser's black. So I guess you could play it as 4, 5, 6 in heroism, which, because, villainy technically already has the 6. Or you could just play 2, depending if you don't think you'll see it. In aggro matchups, it's not as, like I said, it's not as good, but I feel like this is good for them. They get an extra ramp, it's cheaper. I would say this is probably at least a 7, maybe an 8, just because it's a cheaper resupply, and resupply is in every green deck. Moving on, though, you got Rule with Respect. A friendly unit captures each enemy non-leader unit that attacked your base this phase. I didn't know that was a legendary. That's bizarre. Kind of hysterical. Like, you could do some real cheeky stuff with this, but imagine you're capturing an entire board under 1 unit, and then they just reclaim all their guys. Like, they bounce your guy back to your hand, or kill your guy, or whatever, and then they get their whole board back. Funny, probably not that great. Unless you're playing, like, protect whatever, But even then, if you're playing that, what's to say it doesn't just get removed? There's no, like, you can't target this with card effect, or this card can't be destroyed by card effect, only by battle, kind of thing. I think Lurking TIE Phantom, or something, yeah, I think that's what it's called, the yellow card, that he's got that text, but it's a 3-cost 2/2 ship. So, like, you would have to have pumped it up a bit to make it sustainable, then steal everything. And it's just, I don't think it's very good. I'm going to give it a 3. Moving on to a good card, though. We got Enterprising Lackeys, a double green card. 4 cost, 5/5. When defeated, you may defeat a friendly resource. If you do, put this into play as a resource. Then you can smuggle it for 6. So, basically, This card just has endless recursion. If you draw your 2 cards, there are 2 events, and you're like, oh, I can't do nothing. Oh, look at that. I can flip up my enterprising lackeys. Oh, he died again? I'll just chop off a different resource. I'll play this again. Like, this card's crazy. I feel like I can't believe this is only a rare, to be honest, and that last card was a legendary. If the aspects are right on this, because I thought this was a legendary. Maybe I'm tripping, but who knows? I feel like this card's nuts. Whatever rarity it is, this card's crazy. If you're playing double green, you have an endless resource loop. Sure, they could scanning officer it and try and off your smuggle cards or whatever, but this card's crazy. 10 for me. Just the fact that it's endless recursion. Like, you could honestly play it like, I feel like it'd be hard to work out because green doesn't have a lot of like control-y style cards. Like, they have some, but not a lot. But I feel like you could legit probably play like a full control deck with like just these as your units. It's not unique. So you could just play legit 3 enterprising lackeys and 47 control cards. And then, well, I always have a unit once I see one of them. I mean, you gotta see one, right? But why not? Maybe this and like some top end if you're playing control, obviously, like Devastators and stuff. Maybe a Finalizer, who knows? But this card's crazy. Moving on. Enforce Loyalty. 2 costs, double green, defeat a friendly unit if you do draw 2 cards. Not horrible, not great. It's only really good if you're like killing something that, you know, is either almost already dead or has a good when defeated effect, I guess. You could you could play your enterprising lackeys, you could kill it, you could re-smuggle it out, like things like that, bro. Like, could be funny. Nothing to write home about though. Like, I feel like it's probably like a 4 or 5. Moving on though, we got Endless Legions. This card's a real memeage. It's 14 cost, double green, reveal any number of resources you control, play each unit revealed this way for free, 1 at a time specifically. So you could, if you got Ma's Katana, hey, remember we were talking about that earlier, you play Ma's first and then you flip up 14 resources. I mean, that's obviously never going to be all your resources, but maybe actually, you never know. You flip up all your resources and play all your units. I don't know. If you ever get to 14 mana and you're flipping this up, right? You've either lost the game already because you're playing against hard control, and if they super laser blast you following this, you literally scoop up all your cards. Sure, you could pick like 4 units, I guess, and stay at 10, right? That's an option, but I don't see this ever actually working the way it would. But maybe I'm wrong. No idea. 2. No, we'll give it a 3 for the memeage. Continuing on though, we're running long here. I've been yammering. Warzone Lieutenant, 1 cost, 2/2. Okay, that's a 1. That's filler. I think that's the first one I've given out. It's just a filler. 2 cost, Collection Starhopper, 2/2 in space with smuggle. 2. It's not good enough stats. Not even a 2/3. Like, come on. Gamorrean Retainer. While you control the green unit, this gains Sentinel with 3/2. I actually don't hate this. 3 cost or 3/2 Sentinel will generally trade with most turn 1 plays, and so you could technically, like, I mean, obviously it doesn't have Sentinel if you're playing it on turn 1, but if you play this and then you're on the initiative, you could play something else to give it Sentinel. Like, I like this card actually. I'm gonna give this a 7, just because I like it. It's also Underworld for that synergies. Privateer crew, 2 cost, 2/2, smuggle for 6. If you smuggle it, it gains 3 experience. So it's a 6 cost 5/5 or a 2 cost 2/2. That's also a crisp 1 for me. Scanning officer. When played, reveal 3 enemy resources. For each resource with smuggle keyword, reveal this way. What? Defeat each resource. Okay, defeat each resource with the smuggle keyword, reveal this way. Each resource defeated this way, controller puts it. So basically, it just gets rid of smuggle cards that keep their resources. If they didn't keep their resources, that would be broken. Like, easy 10 out of 10 if you could snipe smuggle cards. If you were playing Endless Legions only turbo, this would be pretty solid. I still think this card might be side deckable, or maybe main deck, who knows, depending on how popular smuggle is. The 2/3 stat line I don't love, but usually for like good affected 2 costs, they're the 2/3 stat line, which is a shame. But I like this card. I'm gonna give it a 7. Moving on though, we got Cobb Vanth. 3 cost 3/2, horrible stats for 3 costs, but when defeated, search the top 10 cards of your deck for a unit that costs 2 or less and discard it. For this phase, you may play that card from your discard pile for free. In an aggro style deck, or maybe even mid range, if you've got enough 2-drops to make it warranted, I like this card a lot. Being able to have a 3 cost body that you can run into stuff and then get a 2-drop for free. Or against control, you know, like they claim turn 1 don't do anything and then they power the dark side kind of thing. Like that's their normal go-to, I feel like. Or, you know, like if they play things like that, like you could play this Cobb Vanth and it gets you better options against control because it like 2-for-1s in a sense. Like they have to clear it and then you get another thing to replace it. So I like this card. How playable it'll be, I'm not sure because of the really poor stats. But I'm going to go with an 8 because I've got high hopes, but I'm not quite sure, to be honest. Maybe in Kylo even. Does that count as discarding? It says discard it, so why not? Moving on, though. Got Outlaw Corona. 3 cost 3/5. Spaceship. Bounty. Put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. So this gets to ramp your opponent, but it's a 3/5 spaceship. Against control, this card's going to suck. Because you just give them a free resource. But against anything else, I think this card's pretty playable. Just because 3/5 spaceship for 3 is super crazy stat line. That's probably why the bounty's pretty good. So we're going to give this we're going to give it an 8. Against anything other than control / capture, which, but against things like that, 4, because a 3/5 is still a 3/5, even with the downside. There's still a lot. I gotta start cranking. Reputable Hunter. If an enemy has a bounty, this unit costs 1 less to play. It's a 3 cost 3/4. Stinker. Unless you're playing something that gives bounty, I guess. Like, oh, think about this. You Jabba, give him a bounty, then you play this on turn 1. That's kind of cool. But normally speaking, meh. So, 5. No, 4. I lied. Karax, Heavy Fighter, 3 or 4 cost 3/6 with Overwhelm. On attack, you may exhaust another friendly unit. If you do this, gets +3/+0. It's a 3/3. I don't know why I just said 3/6. If it was 3/6, this would be insane. If it's a 3/3, it sucks. You're trying to push game with overwhelm damage in space, I guess. No, I don't see it. 3. Weequay Pirate Gang. 4 cost 3/3 with ambush and smuggle for 5. Also with ambush. Horrible. The stats are so bad. That doesn't make any sense. 1. Discerning Vet. When played, this unit captures an enemy non-leader ground unit. 3/4 stats are super terrible. capturing's kind of nice. It's got to be ground. Good in draft, maybe. 4 or 5. I don't know. Mercenary Company's reprint. Arquentin's assault cruiser. Spaceship with ambush. It's a 7/8. When this unit attacks and defeats a non-leader, put the defeated unit into play as a resource under your control. I don't hate this. I mean, do you really need to ramp at 8? I mean, the effect's not that spectacular, but it's technically a 7/8 spaceship, right? It doesn't answer the bigger spaceships, but it answers some of them. Like a lot of the smaller spaceships, and you get a resource to play your big spaceships next turn. Like, I think it might see play in some ramp. It might be. I feel like the ramp, like this part, is only like kind of a bonus. Like you get free resources in a sense, but I feel like it doesn't matter that much. But it's got ambush on a big ship, so I'm gonna give it a 7. I like the big spaceship. Bounty, Hunters, Quarry. Attach unit gains bounty. Search the top 5 cards of your deck, or 10 cards instead if it's unique for a unit that costs 3 or less, and play it for free. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of bounties in general. I feel like a lot of them aren't good. This is okay. It's like Vader's Mill for 1, I guess. But it's not looking for anything specific. I don't know. We're going to say 5. Just because I feel like I don't hate it, but I feel like bounties are too slow in general. Legal authority attached to a friendly unit. When played, attached unit captures an enemy non-leader unit with less power than it. It's got 2 health as its buff. Sure, I mean, if you're playing big units in general, it's not horrible, but I don't know what it is. I feel like I have a hard time reviewing upgrades and events, and not events, I guess, upgrades and bounties and stuff like that, just because I feel like I think they're underwhelming as a whole, so like my opinion's kind of skewed. But we're gonna give this also a 5 because you can get, I feel like this would be decent early play, I guess, you know. You play a unit, they play a unit, next turn you steal their unit, kind of thing. Sure, that's okay, but late game is probably sucky. Price on your head, attach unit gains bounty, put the top card of your deck, and it plays a resource. This one, that's what I meant. This is 7, 8, 9 of ramp. However, you have to be like controlling the board pretty well, but still, I think this card is playable. But it kind of sucks. It's like a no, I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably pretty playable just because it's extra copies of ramp if you are desperate for ramp. Like if you're playing those hyper late game strategies, you're probably controlling the board as a whole anyways, and this is like a slower resupply. So the only thing is if they put their card back in their hand, then it kind of feels bad. But yeah, so I'm going to give this one a 7. Just because I think it's worse than the other ones, but it's still good. We got Darksaber attached to a non-vehicle unit. While playing this upgrade on a Mandalorian unit, ignore its aspect penalty. Attached unit gains on attack, give an experience token to each other friendly Mandalorian unit. See, I was just talking about being biased towards upgrades, but I think this one's nutty. So you can basically play this in any Mandalorian style deck, obviously, without being green. You can play this in Sabine, because Sabine is a Mandalorian. And, like, in Sabine especially, like, if they flip Sabine and don't have an immediate answer, which, I mean, people obviously play around a little bit better than the early days, but if they don't have an early answer to Sabine, like as soon as she flips out, you can give her a Darksaber and make her a 6/8. I mean, that's kind of nuts. Like, and even if not, like in a pure Mandalorian deck, if you've got a few dudes on board, whenever you're attacking with the one with Darksaber, which would probably be your leader realistically, but it could be anything, you're getting XP for all your dudes, and that's upgrades. And Mandalorian can like, this card's insane, dude. Like, this is for sure another 10. I don't know if I gave out any 10s in the blue section, which actually makes me feel kind of crazy. But this card's nuts. Like, green has a lot of good cards. We're gonna move on though, because like I said, this is a longer one. We're almost done though. We got commission. Search the top 10 cards of your deck for a bounty hunter item or transport card, and reveal it. Draw it for 1. You can smuggle it for 3. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of searching to draw, like, which is strange considering in most card games it's really good. I feel like drawing 2 a turn makes drawing a little worse. So, like, this doesn't do enough for me. Maybe it comes in off the side if you're, like, you know, looking for one of these specific things in certain matchups kind of things, but I don't think it's great. The smuggle is okay, too, if you got nothing better to do with your resources, so we're going to go 4, just because of the smuggle, honestly. Outflank, attack with 2 units at one time. It's just Rebel Assault, but not specifically for Rebels, and it doesn't give any pluses, so poopy. We're going to go 2. Timely Intervention. 1 cosplay unit from your hand. Give it ambush for this phase. When you play it, you may ready and attack an enemy. That's what ambush does. And you can smuggle it for 2. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are high on this card. A lot of people were freaking out about this card when it was first revealed, just because it's like playing extra copies of Energy Conversion Lab, like, or extra abilities of Energy Conversion Lab, right? But the best part about Energy Conversion Lab is you don't have to pay for it. However, this thing does let you play any unit from your hand to give it ambush. So maybe I am oversold or undersold or whatever, but like, I think it's playable, but is it worth a slot in your main deck, or will it make the cut in your deck most of the time is questionable for me. I could be tripping, I could be totally wrong, it could be the best card in the set, so, but I'm gonna give it a 7. I don't think it's broken by any means, but it's good. Moment of Glory, give a unit +4/+4 for this phase. Tactical advantage is the same thing, it's +2/+2, but 1 less, or whatever it is. I think maybe that's Academy trait, I don't know. Whatever it is 2 less for a cost less or so. It doesn't make it playable. Like, this would have to give me at least +7, I think, to make it playable. No, that's probably too much. I don't know. I don't know. Buffing for 1 turn just doesn't sell me. Maybe +6 would be playable. +5? I mean, I don't know. Now I'm tripping. Okay, moving on. We're almost done here. Take captive. A friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. No restrictions besides that, besides same arena, I guess. Don't hate it, don't love it. It's like pseudo removal. You take their unit until your guy dies, so that's kind of nice. But when your guy dies, you're big sad. So 4 or 5, I don't know. We'll see how good capture, like holding capture, is. Last one, we got choose sides. Choose a friendly non-leader unit and an enemy non-leader unit. Exchange control of the units. Could be comical. Could be decent, actually, late game. If you hold on to some of your duds, I guess, and they're playing big units. Like, imagine someone drops like a Crate Dragon or a Devastator or an Avenger or whatever, and you're like, okay, I'll play out my Battlefield Marine. Okay. They'll do something, and it's like, alright, I'll play choose sides, and I'll give you this Battlefield Marine, and I'll take this Avenger. Like, that could be funny. However, I don't know. We'll see. It's got some playability. I think it could answer some late game stuff. I feel like it'll be really good in control mirrors. But other than that, it might be a little too niche. But yeah, I'm going to give this a 6. But that's it for me. Next time we're going to go over all the red cards. But yeah, that was it for all the greens and Shadow of the Galaxy, and I'm going to wrap this up real quick. So make sure you like the video and comment. Let me know what you're looking forward to. Let me know what you think of my ratings, what you think of the green cards in general. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and thanks for watching. Peace.